My net worth jumped by 4,287 in just 30 days. Sounds insane, right? Here's the proof. It sounds like a gimmick, but the only thing I did was obsessively track my finances using one ridiculously simple system. And the craziest part, I did it without a single pay raise, no lucky stock picks, and I was starting from a place where I felt completely stuck. Just a month ago, I felt like I was just spinning my wheels. Sure, bills were getting paid. Maybe I'd save a little, but I had no clue if I was actually making any real progress. Net worth? That felt like a mystery number, something only millionaires were supposed to talk about. I had this constant, low-grade anxiety about money, but I couldn't tell you why. I just knew I was working hard, but my financial life was pure chaos. In this video, I'm pulling back the curtain on the exact numbers, the simple tracking system that led to this wild result, and how you can use it to get a real sense of control over your own money, starting today. So, I decided to run a 30-day experiment. I track every single dollar and every financial move to see what would happen. And I'm not just talking about tracking my spending. I'd tried and failed at that a million times. This was about tracking my entire financial picture. The goal wasn't to put myself on a crazy budget, but just to get a brutally honest snapshot of where I was really at. I needed a map, and knowing my net worth was the only way to find my PIN. The system I used is almost embarrassingly simple. It's a basic spreadsheet that you could build in 5 minutes. It just has 2 columns: assets and liabilities. That's it. First up, assets. This is all the stuff you own that's worth money. Think of it as anything you could sell for cash, money in your checking and savings, the value of any investments or retirement funds, and even what your car or other valuable stuff is worth. Then you have liabilities. Yeah, this is the less fun column. It's everything you owe. This is all your debt, credit card balances, student loans, car loans, you name it. Assets minus liabilities equals your net worth. This one number is the most honest look at your financial health you can get. It's not about how much you make, it's about what you're building with what you make. Someone earning way less can easily have a higher net worth than a high earner who's drowning in debt. That was the idea that gave me hope. The first few days were about setting the stage and, honestly, facing the music. I gathered up all my account statements, logged into every bank and loan website, and started plugging the numbers into the spreadsheet. This part feels a little weird, I won't lie, but getting that clarity is the entire point. After filling it all in, my starting net worth was -1,745. Seeing that negative number in black and white was a gut punch. It meant that if I sold everything I owned, I'd still be in debt. I felt like a total failure. But once the shock wore off, something else kicked in: pure motivation. For the first time, I had a starting line. My goal wasn't some vague idea of getting better with money. It was specific: get this number to 0, then into the positive. The rest of week 1 was about small, immediate actions. First, I started tracking my expenses every single day. Not to judge myself, but just to see where the money was actually going. Just the act of writing it down made me more mindful. That daily coffee, that subscription I totally forgot about. Suddenly, I could see it all. Second, I set a smart goal. I would pay off 500 of my highest interest credit card debt in the next 30 days. It felt achievable, and it would directly attack my negative net worth. By the end of week 1, just from cutting a few mindless purchases, my cash size and asset was up by 62, and I hadn't added any new debt. My net worth ticked up to -1,683. It was a tiny shift, but it was progress, and it felt amazing. Week 2 was where I really started to feel the power of this system. My focus shifted from just watching the numbers to making strategic moves. I used the pay yourself first method, but with a twist. Before anything else, I took that 500 goal and fired it off as a payment to my credit card. And you know, the moment I hit submit, I ran straight to my net worth tracker. I dropped my credit card liability by 500. Instantly, my net worth jumped by that exact amount. Seeing the number on the screen change so dramatically from one single action was a revelation. It wasn't just money disappearing into the void. It was a direct investment in my own financial value. This is where the mental game changed. Every dollar I threw at my debt wasn't an expense anymore. It was me buying back a piece of my own freedom. It transformed paying off debt from a soul-crushing chore into a game I was determined to win. During this week, I also did a subscription audit. I found 3 services I wasn't even using, costing me about $45 a month. Canceling them felt like giving myself an instant raise. I immediately set up an automatic transfer for that, a $45 to a high-yield savings account. Automation is your best friend here because it takes willpower completely out of the equation. By the end of week 2, between the debt payment and automated savings, my net worth had climbed to negative $100.120. I had improved my financial position by over $600 in just 14 days. The momentum was building, and I was getting addicted to watching that number climb. Week 3 felt like the tipping point. The habits of tracking and mindful spending were starting to feel like second nature. That freed up brain space to think bigger. I started looking for ways to grow my assets, not just shrink my liabilities. So, I spent a Saturday afternoon just tearing through my apartment, hunting for things I no longer needed. Old electronics, books I'd already read, clothes that were just collecting dust. I listed everything on Facebook Marketplace and a couple of other resale apps. Over the next week, I made $385. This was a game changer. Instead of seeing it as just fun money to spend, I saw it as a direct injection into my net worth. I transferred that $385 straight to my savings, and my assets column jumped again. It proved I had more control than I thought. I didn't need a raise to make more money. I could literally create it from stuff I already had. I also had a realization this week. Tracking my net worth wasn't really about the number itself. It was about what that number stood for: progress, control, and finally being intentional with my money. I wasn't just drifting along anymore. I was directing the flow. That feeling of control did more to reduce my financial anxiety than anything else I'd ever tried. At the end of week 3, with the extra cash from selling my stuff and my regular savings, my net worth crossed a huge milestone. It was finally positive. I ended the week at 215. Going from negative to positive in 3 weeks felt like a massive win. The final week was all about locking in the progress and making one last push. My main focus was just maximizing every dollar. I did a 3-day no-spend challenge, only spending money on absolute essentials like getting to work. This wasn't about punishment, it was more of a mindfulness exercise. And it saved me an extra $17 or I definitely would have spent on lunches and random stuff. I also got a small freelance payment I'd forgotten was coming. $250 for a project from months ago. A few months ago, that money would have just vanished into my checking account without a trace. But not this time. Now, it had a job to do. I immediately split it half to savings, half to my credit card debt. The most important part of this week was seeing how all the little things added up. Those canceled subscriptions, the daily tracking, selling old stuff, the focused debt payments. None of them felt world-changing on their own. But together, they created this powerful snowball of positive momentum. Seeing real results made every good decision feel even better. As day 30 got closer, I was genuinely excited to do the final math. Not because I expected some magic number, but because I wanted to see the quantifiable result of a month of pure, focused effort. On day 30, I sat down and updated all my numbers one last time. I tallied up my final assets and my remaining debts. So, my starting net worth was -1,745, and my final net worth after 30 days of obsessive tracking and intentional action, positive 2,542. That is an increase of 287 in a single month. So where did that explosion come from? Debt reduction. I paid down over $1,000 in high-interest credit card debt, which directly added that much to my net worth. Increased savings, being mindful, canceling subscriptions, and that side income added nearly $2,000 to my savings and investments. Market growth and compounding. My small, existing investments had some modest growth, adding a couple $100 without me lifting a finger. Asset liquidation. Selling stuff I already owned kicked in nearly $400. The explosion wasn't one thing. It was a total shift in my approach. The secret wasn't some complicated financial strategy, it was just paying attention. It really just proves that old saying, what gets measured gets managed. Tracking my net worth gave me a scoreboard for my financial life, and for the first time, I was playing to win. It provided a clear picture that I needed to make better choices. Look, tracking your net worth isn't about restriction. It's about giving yourself a scoreboard to win the game of your own finances. It turns that vague, nagging anxiety into a clear, actionable plan. It shows you the immediate impact of your decisions, which is the most powerful motivator you can have. You stop seeing paying off debt as a sacrifice and start seeing it as an investment in yourself. This 30-day experiment completely changed my relationship with money. I went from feeling lost and overwhelmed to feeling empowered and in control. And the best part is, anyone can do this. If you want to see more financial experiments like this and follow my journey, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thanks so much for watching.